Quiz tomorrow is just on 4.4. Remember, it's 4 different parts, so 4 different ways to factor. Unlike the review, the quiz is just going to say factor each completely, and that's your directions for the whole thing. So you're going to need to know, in which question do I pull out the greatest common factor? In which one do I multiply the first times the last? Which one do I have 2 perfect squares? So you guys need to know that. Don't be scared. Nope, the directions, it's going to be 14 questions, and it's going to say factor each completely, and that's it. So starting with number 1. Daniil, what are 2 factors of -6 that add to 1? 2 and 3. Which one's negative?
2.
Awesome. So since it's a positive 1, that means the bigger number is positive. So we have n minus 2, n plus 3. All right, number 2. Eli, what are 2 factors of -72 that add to 1? 9 and 8, and which one's negative?
9.
So since the middle number is positive, that means the bigger number is going to be positive, so it's a -8. So we have a plus 9, a minus 8. Any questions here? All right, Damien, what are 2 factors of -48 that add to -2? 6 and -8. Perfect. Since the middle number is negative, that means our bigger number is negative, so -8. So p plus 6, p minus 8. Again, it doesn't matter the order. You could say p minus 8 times p plus 6. That's totally fine. All right, Alexander, number 4. What are 2 factors of 32 that add to -12?
8 and 4.
8 and 4. Which one's negative, or both of them? Awesome. So we have x minus 8 and x minus 4. Perfect. Number 5. Janessa, what are 2 factors of -50 that add to 5?
-5 and 10.
-5 and 10, perfect. So we have a minus 5 and a plus 10. Any questions on the first part? Awesome. Next, we're going to factor using a greatest common factor. So we got to look and see, is everything divisible by the same number? So here, is everything divisible by the same number? What is that? 4. And then do they all have x's in common? How many? 1. So they all have at least 1 x. So I'm going to take out a 4x. Make sure you write that 4x in your answer. Don't forget it on the outside. Then I divide. What's 4x cubed divided by 4x? Madison, what's 4x cubed divided by 4x? Awesome, x squared. Maya, what's 4x squared divided by 4x? 24x squared divided by 4x. 6x, perfect. And so if I have 2 x's here, I'm taking 1 away, so then I'm just left with 1x. So that's what happens to the squared. So it's just 1x here. So x squared, remember, is like x times x. If I have an x on the top and an x on the bottom, they cancel, so I'm only left with 1x. All right, and then what's -28 divided by 4? -7. And if I have an x on the top and an x on the bottom, they just go away. So I have no x's. Bradley, can I factor this more? How?
By doing 7.
What are 2 factors of -7 that add to 6?
7 and -1.
7 and -1, perfect. So that 4x stays on the outside. Then I have x plus 7 times x minus 1. Sophia, do I have a greatest common factor I could take out here? What is it? 5. And do I have any p's in common?
Yes.
How many? 1p. So they both have at least 1p. So I'm taking out 5p. So since I'm dividing everything by 5p, I have to put that on the outside. So it has to be in my answer. What's 5 divided by 5? Anybody? 1. And then if I have 2 p's and I take 1 away, how many am I left with? Just 1p. What's 20 divided by 5? 4. And if I have 1p and I take 1 away, how many am I left with? 0. They cancel.
How did you know to put the P before the 5?
All right, number 8.
Oh, and then don't you have to put it into a more simplified form?
Do I have 3 terms in my parentheses?
You only do that when it's 3 terms.
Only when there's 3 terms that you break it down more. Since I only have 2 inside here, that's as simplified as it can go. All right, Paula, number 8, what should I do? Divide by 2. Do I have any v's in common with all 3 of these? Nope, so I'm only taking out a 2. That 2 stays on the outside. So the 2's cancel here, and I have v squared. What's 12 divided by 2? 6. This would be 6v. And what's negative 54 divided by 2? Negative 27. So what are 2 factors of negative 27 that add to 6? 9 and negative 3. Perfect. So in my parentheses here, I have v plus 9 and v minus 3. What am I missing? The 2 on the outside. Don't forget to put that in your answer. If you take anything out, it has to be in your answer. All right, number 9. Catherine, what should I do first here? Divide by 4. Do I have any x's in common with all 3 of these? Nope, so I'm only taking out a 4. So 4 divided by 4 is just 1, so I just have x squared. What's negative 32 divided by 4?
8x.
Negative 8x. And what's 48 divided by 4? 12. Catherine, what are 2 factors of 12 that add to negative 8?
-6 and -2.
Awesome, negative 6 and negative 2. So in my parentheses here, I have x minus 6 and x minus 2. Don't forget to put that 4 on the outside too. Any questions on this one? All right, number 10. Marina, what should I do first?
Divide by 6n.
Awesome, divide by 6, and they both have an n in common, so I'm dividing by 6n. So since I'm dividing by 6n, that goes on the outside. 6 divided by 6 is just 1. If I have 2 n's and I take 1 away, how many am I left with? Just n. And then what's negative 36 divided by 6? 6. And then if I have 1 n and I take 1 away, then I have no n's. So this would be my answer. Can I factor this anymore? No, because it only has 2 terms inside the parentheses. Nick Smith, what should I do first?
You have to multiply 7 and 8.
Multiply 7 and 8.
You get negative 56.
Negative 56. What are 2 factors of negative 56 that add to 10?
It's, wait, let me see, what question are we on?
11.
It's 14 and negative 4.
14 and negative 4. Perfect. So anytime that you have a number out front, so that first term has a number that's not 1, it's not just an x squared there, and we can't divide everything here by the same greatest common factor. You have to multiply the first times the last. So when you don't have a greatest common factor to take out, you have to multiply the first times the last. So then we have x minus 4 times x plus 14. Now I started by multiplying, so I added a step in there. What do I have to go back in and do next? Divide everything by 7. Perfect. So if you start by multiplying, you have to go back in and divide. You got to keep things balanced. Can I divide 4 by 7? So what do I do with the 7? Put the 7 in front of the x. This is 7x minus 4. Can I divide 14 by 7? What's 14 divided by 7? 2. So x plus 2. And that's my answer. Stefano, what should I do first? Divide what? Do I have a greatest common factor with 5, 41, and 90? No. So if I don't have a greatest common factor that I take out, what should I do? Awesome. Multiply the first and the last. So 5 times 90 would be 450. And do I have two factors of 450 to add to 41? Perfect. 50 and 9. Which one's negative? The bigger number is negative since the middle is negative, so negative 50. So in my parentheses here, I have x minus 50 and x plus 9. What do I have to do next? Perfect. Divide by 5. So since I started by multiplying that 5 out front, I have to divide. So I have x minus 10. Can I divide 9 by 5? So what do I do with the 5? In front of the x. So 5x plus 9. Awesome. Matthias, what should I do first?
Number 13.
Yes.
Would you take the outside 2?
Yep. What's 3 times 20?
60.
60. And what are two factors of 60 that add to 19?
15 and 4.
Perfect. 15 and 4. So then I have x plus 15, or if you did p, because the question has p's here, and then x plus 4. What do I have to do next?
Would you divide them by 3?
Perfect. Divide them by 3. So it's 15 divided by 3.
5.
So x plus 5. What's 4 divided by 3?
You can't, so you just put it by 5.
Perfect. If you can't divide it, you move it in front. So 3x plus 4. Good job. All right, 14. Jason, what should I do first?
Multiply 7 and 24.
Multiply 7 and 24. What's 7 times 24?
168.
168. And what are two factors of 168 that add to 22?
6 and negative 28.
6 and negative 28. Perfect. So then in my parentheses, I have p plus 6 and p minus 28. Jason, what do I do next?
You divide, but it doesn't go into 6, so you put 7p plus 6.
Perfect. 7p plus 6, because it doesn't divide. And then what's negative 28 divided by 7?
4.
So p minus 4. Good work. Any questions here? All right, Tyler, 15, what should I do first? Tyler, 15. No, I want to help him out. What should I do first? Multiply the first and the last. So it's 3 times 49. 147. What are two factors of 147 that add to negative 28? 21 and 7? Yeah. And which one's negative? Both of them are negative. Perfect. So I have n minus 21, n minus 7. What should I do next? Divide by 3. So I have n minus 7. The 3 goes in front of the n, so this would be 3n minus 7. Any questions here? All right, 16. Here, I'm factoring. they're both perfect squares, and when you have two of them, remember you have two sets of parentheses. So when it's only two terms and they're both perfect squares, you're going to have two parentheses. So what times what gives me k squared? K, so k times k. So a k goes here and a k goes here. What times what gives me 16? 4 times 4. So 4 goes here and 4 goes here. What goes in the middle? A plus and a minus. And that's my answer. Any questions? All right, 17. What times what gives me 4m squared? 2m. So 2m times 2m. So 2m goes here, 2m goes here. What times what gives me 25? So 5 times 5. And 1 has a plus, 1 has a minus. So it's 2m plus 5, 2m minus 5. Any questions here? All right, Mendoza, what times what gives me m squared? M times m. So an m goes here and an m goes here. Mendoza, what times what gives me 4? Perfect. 2 and 2, so -2 and +2. So we have m minus 2 times m plus 2. It doesn't matter the order. You can say m plus 2 and m minus 2. That works too. Any questions? All right, 19. Kimberly, what should I do here?
The 16 is 1, and then the 9 is 3.
Perfect. So they're perfect squares. So this is a perfect square binomial. So I have 4m and 3. What goes in the middle?
Plus.
Remember, it's whatever sign's in the middle here. So minus would go in the middle. And what am I missing? Squared.
Is that only when there's transference?
Yep. So just think about it is that you always want it to be like 2 parentheses, but here we just happen to have the same parentheses, so we just put them squared. So you won't just have one binomial. It always has to be 2. So if you're missing one of them, you just put the squared. So if you're doing perfect squares, you need the squared when it's 3 of them. 3 terms. 1, 2, 3. All right. 20. Christopher, what times what gives me 16x squared? 4x times 4x. And Christopher, what times what gives me 25? So what's my answer going to be?
4x plus 5.
If I have a minus in the question, it's got to have a minus in the answer. So 4x minus 5.
4x plus.
So you only do it twice when you have 2 terms. When it's 3, it gets the squared. So just remember, when it's 3 terms, it gets the squared. All right, 21. Eli, what times what gives me 9x squared? 3x. And Eli, what times what gives me 25? 5 times 5. So in my parentheses, I have 3x and 5. What's going to go in the middle? Plus, because I have a plus in my question. And then what am I missing? Squared. Any questions? All right, 22. Damien, what should I do first here? Can I do I have a greatest common factor that I could take out of all of them? No. So if I don't, then what do I have to do? If we don't have a greatest common factor, we multiply the first times the last. So this would be 90. Danielle, what are two factors of 90 that add to 19?
19.
Yeah.
9 and 10.
Perfect. 9 and 10. So this would be n plus 9, n plus 10. Bradley, what do I have to do next? If I started by multiplying, what do I have to go back in and do? Divide. Perfect. So I divide both these by 9. So this would be n plus 1. Bradley, what happens if I can't divide them?
You put the 9 in front of them.
Perfect. So 9n plus 10. Any questions? All right, 23. Almost done. Janessa, what should I do first here? Perfect. I don't have a greatest common factor, so I'm going to multiply the first times the last. So this would be 18. Madison, what are two factors of 18 that add to negative 9? Paula, want to help her out? Negative 6 and negative 3? Yeah. So n minus 6, n minus 3. Paula, what should I do next? Divide by 9. Can I simplify 6 divided by 9? Do they have a greatest common factor?
Are you gonna have them?
We might. 3, so I can divide the top and the bottom by 3. So this becomes n minus 2 over 3. Perfect. 3n minus 2, because I still have to move that 3 in front. In the second one, I have 3 divided by 9. Can I simplify this fraction? A 3 goes into both of them. So then this would be n minus 1 over 3. 3n minus 1.
You don't multiply by 9, you just divide by 3.
So we multiplied by 9 in the start, and then divided by 9, but they simplify. So you have to simplify your fractions as much as you can. So be careful, because you can't divide 6 by 9, so most people would just move the 9 to the front, but you can simplify the fraction. So you have to simplify it before you move it. Any questions here?
So whenever you have the chance to simplify,
Yes.
switch it over.
And then move it. So simplify it first. All right, 24. Sophia, what should I do first here for 24? Anybody, what should I do first? Divide by 3. Perfect. They all have a greatest common factor of 3. So I could take out the 3. Remember, if you divide, you have to write it on the outside. So 3 divided by 3 cancels out. It's just 1. So I have 2 squared. What's 24 divided by 3? 8b. And then what's negative 27 divided by 3? Negative 9. Can I factor this anymore? What are two factors of negative 9 that add to 8? 9 and 1, and which one's negative? The 1. So this would be b plus 9 times b minus 1. What am I missing? The 3. Don't forget that 3. If you take something out, you got to put it in your answer. Any questions here? One more. What should I do first here? Roy, what should I do first? Well, we'll do it together now. Mendoza.
You multiply x to negative 10.
I could, but remember, I want a positive x squared here, so how do I get that to be positive?
Divide by negative.
So I'm going to take out a negative 1 from everything. So divide by negative 1. So I just changed the sign of everything else on the inside, but I have to put that negative 1 on the outside. So this becomes a positive x squared minus 7x plus 10. So we had a few of these in the notes, but I don't think that there were any in the homework. But just be prepared, you might see one on the quiz. So if you have a negative x, divide everything by negative 1. Now I can factor. Do I have two factors of 10 that add to negative 7? 5 and 2? Both negative. So this would be x minus 5, x minus 2. Am I missing anything? A negative 1 on the outside. So since I pulled out that negative 1, I just need it in my answer.